Jeff Dape has the biggest hands in arm wrestling. A heavy machine operator from Minnesota, Jeff was born with severely enlarged limbs, but was never diagnosed with any medical condition that could be responsible. Jeff peaked during his arm wrestling career at a relatively high level in North America, winning state as well as national titles. From interviews, it quickly becomes clear that arm wrestling was never a true priority for him. However, he does hold this illustrious title.
Fucking arm historian put a video, Rise and Fall of RVJ, but that's almost like my career is like complete. Like he went up and then he came down. That's like we can talk about maybe Alexi Vovoda.
By the way, he's in the chat by the way.
Yeah, you hurt my feelings with that video, arm historian, but I think I told you about that.
Did you actually go and watch it? Because I know that when we were in Ireland, you told me you hadn't watched it.
Oh, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Welcome to the Arm Historian live stream. Hope you all are doing well. Having a great Sunday. Let's get some music going here. There we go. How y'all doing? Welcome. Let's use in chat. Quite a lot of people. Tony Rizzo, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Thanks for reminding the people to hit the like button. Is that website stuff is off the hook? Engin is quite the character. Yeah, we'll get into that. Owlboy, how you doing? The Drew24, what's up, man? Erican, David Roy, Arm Noobs. How y'all doing? Welcome. Chuck, how you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Out of Tune, I've seen you around in a lot of streams. How you doing, Out of Tune? It seemed like you jumped headfirst into the arm wrestling world, right? Which is always great to see. Spinner, hey, what's up? Says the event organizing was great. Yep, I agree. A lot of it was really good. Gateway Arms, your boy Mitch, what's up? Mr. Peanut in the house. What's up, Mr. Peanut? Chuck says, did you watch the whole event, Arm Historian? Yes, I did watch the entire event. I didn't quite watch it all live because I think it started at like 2 a.m. my time, so yeah. But I did get to see the entire event. David says, being mentioned by name on stream is fucking weird. Yeah, I get that. If you want, I won't mention you anymore, David Roy. Says Brian Shaw runs the tightest ship I've seen. Yeah, it did look good. So what's on the docket for today's stream? I'll go over each match separately, and I'll also give you my thoughts on the entire event in its entirety. Kind of give you my general feelings about the production value and stuff like that, everything around the event. And then I'd love to hear what you guys think. Like, what was your favorite match of the night? That's one thing I'm really curious about, because I'm having a hard time thinking of my own favorite, honestly. Like the matches, some of the matches, I'm gonna be straight up, kind of disappointed me. Some of them were a pleasant surprise, so that was really good. But some of them kind of disappointed me. But as far as the production value, I know a couple of people here touched on it already. I loved it. I told you guys beforehand in my previous live stream that was the main thing I was gonna watch out for. And yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised about the production value. Like, just the video quality was so crisp compared to what we had before. That alone was like totally worth it for me. Your boy Mitch says, I find it interesting Engin came out with a video about a website before East vs West 4 hours before Dexter posted. Yeah, that's another thing. I'll get to that after I've done the East vs West review. But we'll get into some drama stuff if time allows, as the title says. But we'll touch on that. I want to touch on that. As the regulars know, I'm fine with talking about just about anything. Like, nothing is really off the table here, so yeah, I'm always good with that. But that being said, let's get into reviewing the matches themselves. I'll pull them up. There's something to look at while we're talking about them. Is the site back up already? No, it isn't actually. Okay. So East vs West isn't back up yet. Okay, that's fine. That's funny. So the site is officially still down, it seems, or at least it's not secure, which is, yeah, it's easy to make it secure. Pablo Torres bicep. Yeah, that being said, guys, there are going to be spoilers in this stream, obviously. I think that goes without saying. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you're watching this afterwards or live, there are going to be spoilers. And yes, Pavlo Derbedeniev did, I think, Torres biceps or something like that. Not quite sure what exactly happened, but yeah. Didn't look good. And like, it was one of those situations where Pavlo, as well as his opponent, knew straight away something was wrong. Because you could see Ricard's face, like, completely drop once it happened. So yeah, both of them instantly knew something was wrong there. Let me quickly pull up something here. It's crazy that the website is still not fixed. Kinda, I wonder who dropped the ball really in this situation. We might as well talk about it briefly here before getting into the matches. Apparently, I'll catch people up that don't know what's happened. Apparently, East vs West website was down for some time, or is still down. And because it expired, I think the domain expired. And then it got transferred to, or someone else picked it up. That's the story I first read. But then it almost sounds too ridiculous to be true, but then theories started popping up about like Engin doing this on purpose, and he released like a very villainous looking video. Like the time is very weird of the video where he talks about this. So a bunch of people are thinking now that Engin is somehow trying to kind of undermine East vs West with these kinds of things. Very interesting, but yeah. I don't think we know for sure. So let's not start throwing around accusations left and right without anything to back it up. But yeah, very, very peculiar situation. Braxton McRist says Engin transferred it. So you're saying Engin transferred it to some Lithuanian third party or whatever happened, and that's what actually went down? Would be interesting. You cannot transfer the data, and you have a 30-day grace period, so it's not possible in any other way, says @Bramsay. I know particular like domain registrars have different rules for their like grace period, quote unquote. So it's not like some universal thing, but you can probably see where it was registered, and then you can extrapolate from that. So yeah, you can figure it out, of course. Latrousseau says, on a serious note, I really don't want to believe that Engin was behind this website thing. You know, I'll give you my opinion for what it's worth. I'm having a hard time believing that too. Like, I don't know, it is Engin. Like, would he be, like, theoretically, would he be capable of doing something like this to screw the league? Yeah, maybe, if he's in the wrong mood or something. But, like, in practice, would he actually be, like, capable of doing it? As in, technically proficient enough to do it himself? No, I don't think so. I don't know, man. Crazier things have happened, I guess. He might have hired someone or asked someone to do it. Having a hard time picturing Engin being like some manipulative mastermind behind here. What might have happened maybe is Engin just saw an opportunity to not help them, you know what I mean? Wasn't a conscious decision, but like a spur of the moment, kind of a thing of opportunity. He just saw an opportunity to get in the way of East versus West and kind of jumped at it. Maybe. I don't know, I'm just speculating here. Jacobin says probably Engin's son. No. Talk about jumping to conclusions. Yeah, it must be Engin's son who's actually behind it. No, I don't think so. I think we should maybe not involve Engin's family. Chuck says to be true, hang on here, to be true, Dexter dislikes Engin very much. I don't know, the communications from organizations is blurry. Yeah, a lot of things aren't super transparent still, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's the way it is. That's how business works, I guess. J.R. Williams says, my guess is Engin didn't dirty his hands, he recruited Roman. Yeah, that's another name I've been thrown around a lot. Whatever happened to that guy? Is he still like involved in arm wrestling in any way? Wonder where he is now. Chuck says, did Robert and Engin actually disagree in peace or not? If they did not disagree in peace, Robert should clear things up. Yeah, that's another very weird thing. Like, I don't get how that relationship works now, because like Dexter Tan is putting out videos about like taking down the rat or something like that. I don't know, I haven't watched the video yet. I've only seen like the title of it, but I don't know. Sounds a little accusatory, but so I have no clue what the relationship is between Engin Terzi and current East versus West leadership. I do know one thing though. This last event, East vs West 19, I kind of liked it. I'm not gonna lie, I liked the event. Especially the way everything was organized and video quality, audio quality, everything like that was like spot on, I think. I even liked the little crowd setup they had going. Even though they were working with a huge arena, they still managed to make it feel, I don't know, kind of appealing and a little more intimate, which I think arm wrestling really benefits from sometimes. I don't think it really works on like putting someone in the middle of this huge arena on this tiny table comparatively. You just see two stick figures going at it on the table. I don't think that really works. So yeah, I do think we have to move to something a little more intimate. And I'm sure they'll do it in, where it's gonna be, Zurich? In a couple months, next East versus West, so that's gonna be a big like moment for the new leadership to kind of prove themselves, right? Can they still manage to give us a product that's comparable in quality to East vs West 19 without the help of Brian Shaw's team? Is that a possibility? Will they be able to deliver on that? I think if yes, then the league will be heading into the right direction. If we can, following that, get some kind of consolidation from Eastern pullers, so they're able to find their way back to the league somehow, even if it's just 50% of them or whatever, that would be great, because I do think, yeah, the matches, I liked a lot of them, some great characters in the Strongman community, so I love that about it, some awesome back and forths, but the quality of the matches itself, the matchups I should say, not super great in my opinion. Quite a bit of one-sided matches. But yeah, that's not really complaining about the event or anything, because I enjoyed the event, I enjoyed watching it, it all looked good. They facilitated arm wrestling in a great way, I think. Yeah, and I hope we get a lot of people from the Strongman community in because of this event. But yeah, that being said, a lot of the matches did kind of, quite a few of the matches, I should say, did kind of disappoint. Let's talk about those matches. Let's see. Okay, obviously I can't go to that picture because it's hosted on the East vs West website. I just want some kind of clear visual. I'll do it. Chuck says, I did not care for most of the matches. That's fair. Same here. Gotham Strength says, I'm one of the people that thinks they should change the name moving forward. The name East versus West is tainted, in my opinion. Rebranding seems appropriate. So it's not like you're not saying that out of a marketing perspective, but more out of a like voodoo curse perspective, where East versus West as a term is now officially cursed. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think they could do with a name rebranding. I wouldn't mind that necessarily. Yeah, I've gotten used to East versus West though, so. I cared for Rieger, says Latru. So yeah, I thought that match was shaping up to be great. But then unfortunately, Pavlo got an injury there. So yeah, very unfortunate. See who else do we have on here? Of course. Let's talk about Gabi Vasconcelos. Gabi Vasconcelos versus, I'm blanking on her name for some reason. Jocelyn, right? Yeah, Gabi versus Jocelyn. Total dominance from Gabi's side. Like, Gabi totally dominated the match, did with Jocelyn whatever she wanted. Kind of allowed her to get involved into the match a little bit and still just blankly stared and took her down. So really one-sided match going to Gabi Vasconcelos. Gabi really is the GOAT of women's arm wrestling, says Braxton McChrist. Yes, I agree. She's the GOAT. Undeniably so, I think. Maybe, who knows, someday Barbora or someone will catch up, but yeah, for now she's the GOAT. Stadium seating was good. Gabi Queen, yeah. Evo Clown says the matches weren't the best, but we didn't have the top of the top, but the production was good. Props to Brian the Train. Yeah, I agree. Let's go to the next one. Ciray Brown versus Derek Smith. What can we say about Ciray Brown versus Derek Smith? Derek, I don't know. Ciray Brown looked to me like was kind of a deer caught in headlights. Maybe wasn't really used to that. Did Ciray have a lot of super matches, or was he mainly a tournament puller before this? Guess maybe he just wasn't really used to it, or being on a big stage. I don't think he had a lot of matches of this caliber before, so to me it kind of looked like he forgot all of his technique and just kind of went with it every step of the way and got pinned. Yeah, very easily by Derek. Which, you know, going into it, I kind of expected. I think in my predictions, I said Derek should have this, right? It's a pivotal moment for him. If he loses this, it's going to be a long time before he's going to be invited back, I think. But yeah, I think this kind of solidified it that there are still levels to this, and Derek is at a pretty high level still. So yeah, good on Derek. Well done. Happy he got a win there. Ciray has pulled out Mac 3, that's right, out of tune. Thank you for reminding me. I didn't see the match, but somehow Derek won. Yes, he did. One of those, yeah. I love to dunk on Derek too. It's all in good fun. I hope he knows that if he ever hears me do it. I doubt he watches my stuff. But yeah, Derek, if you're out there, no hard feelings, man. Hey, Boss Royale, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome in. So yeah, not a lot more to say about this match. Another very one-sided match, in my opinion. And then we have Big Loss versus Martins, right? I know that's not the way you pronounce it, but yeah, not Latvian. I can't pronounce that stuff the correct way. So yeah, Martins lost versus Big Loss. I thought Loss looked very good on the table. Looked strong. Otherwise, kind of similar situation a little bit to what happened in the match we just talked about. Kind of caught like a deer in headlights, like Suhail. In my opinion, very similar situation. Like, obviously, Big Loss is not as experienced as Derek, but the experience discrepancy between the two was still big enough where I think experience just won out and he went into tournament mode, match mode, and just, yeah, knocked it out of the park. Boss Royale says they need to get you on the commentary, Arm Historian. I don't know if I'd be suitable for commentary necessarily. I wouldn't mind trying it, like if I get enough preparation I think I could do an okay job, but I don't think my speech patterns and the way I sound in English necessarily lends itself to being in the commentary booth. But I'd love to be involved in any other way that they would have me. Like if they would ever want me to make documentary style video about someone or something involved with East versus West, love to be involved in that way. Out of Tune says Martin shouldn't have been competing couple weeks before the match. Yeah, that might have played into it. Seeing Lost versus Artem, he looked really solid. Yeah, I saw that training footage. I saw that. I think on Artem's Instagram, which is awesome. What ethnicity are you, Arm Historian? I'm an Arm. Chuck says, I would love to hear your opinion on future relations of East versus West and WAF, Arm Historian. I don't know. It might be somewhat contentious because I know WAF has a very good relationship with Engin and a lot of other Eastern pullers and organizations. That being said, I don't think WAF will want to completely shut out East versus West in that way. So I think while it might be a little contentious, their relationship, I don't think there will be like a full split now. Unless there's something I haven't heard of, but yeah, I don't think it'll happen that soon. Evil Clown says people like real and you are a real one, Arm Historian. I try to be. J.R. Williams says, Arm Historian, when are we getting the rise and fall of Engin? Is it still an ongoing saga like a wait and see if there is more drama? I made a video on Engin. I think it's more than a year ago now that I made it. Over 30 minutes long. It didn't get the most views. But I did make a video on him. I was very kind to him in the video. Engin still didn't like that video though. He still really disliked the video. So yeah, I wasn't kind enough it seems. But I could have gone way harder. And I didn't at the time. But now I might revise that and decide to make another video where I'll be, how shall I put this, a little more candid about what I put in there. So yeah, that's kind of where that is at. It's not unlikely that a video on Engin Jersey will manifest itself in not too long. But we'll see. King's Crossing says if he does Rise and Fall of Engin, the channel will get DDoS attacked and copy striked. That's another thing that needs to be considered. I don't think he'll be... Yeah, I think he'll be quick with the strikes. He might not be, like he didn't strike my previous video on him, which is very nice. Very nice of him. So he didn't strike that. So he might not be. He might just not care. Which is, in my opinion, would be the best way to handle something like that. Just don't give it any attention. Out of Tune says, I hope East versus West will take on the athletes that were banned by WAF. Yeah. It's like the more you look at arm wrestling history, the more you notice the big through line is behind the scenes drama between leagues. Like, it's so crazy because arm wrestling has been a small sport for so long and still is to a big degree. But like different leagues just can't help themselves to get in each other's way. They just can't seem to help themselves. But yeah, I don't know, it just happens over and over and over again throughout arm wrestling's history. To a point where the latest drama and split between East and West and the whole thing with the East versus West League doesn't even surprise me anymore. I think a lot of people who have been in the sport for a long time and who have been following the sport for a long time or looked at the history to any degree can see that this feels like just you're kind of waiting for this league to fail and the next league to pop up, you know what I mean? There's been so many great unifying leagues that would change the arm wrestling scene forever. But that's eventually just, you know, they either fucked each other over behind the scenes, just fizzled out, overextended. You see a lot of that where they pump in like absurd amounts of money and just hope to get a return eventually. But then sponsors start dropping and there's a bunch of drama that way. Or they just, you know, this whole deal with the exclusive contracts and getting in the way of interviews because they're like related to other leagues and stuff like that. I don't know. Just a whole bunch of infighting that we should be avoiding as what is still a very small sport, you know what I mean? We should be lifting each other up. The different leagues should be helping to promote each other and each find like their own little slice of arm wrestling, their own little niche they can work within. I think there will be if you allow for that, there will be a natural evolution where several different high profile quote unquote leagues can exist when they're each doing their own thing, their own like unique thing. But no, that can't happen because ego or something. I don't know what gets in the way. Maybe arm wrestling is just a sport where people with a big ego tend to gravitate towards, and that also translates into like league organizers having the same issue. I don't know. I'm saying all this and I'm ranting about all this, but I'm hoping, of course, that East versus West will be different at the same time. I'm trying to be realistic, but I'm hoping and I'm trying to facilitate that and support them. That East versus West will be different and we will be able to persevere and the league will be able to happily coexist and thrive along with some other leagues. A PR Snake says there's no point for more leagues right now. No, I'm not saying people should be creating 100 leagues and there should be like an over offer. I'm just saying if there's place for it within the market and people want it, then I think we shouldn't be pushing each other out of that market. I don't think because like a puller that you have in your major league, like say in East versus West, having a major star pull for them, I don't think if that puller wants to do another match several months in advance in another league that's maybe not as noticeable as East versus West, I don't think he shouldn't be allowed to do it, you know what I mean? I think there's no point to that whatsoever. Houdini Sports says Engin fucked it up. And now the scumbag is showing his true colors. You know, I know a lot of people are talking about Engin right now, and I think people who've been on this channel for a long time and who kind of gotten to know me know that my relationship with Engin isn't the best relationship. It barely exists in the first place. It's not like we were like dear friends or something, nothing like that. But there's been a couple of contentious points in our relationship, so I'm not the biggest Engin fan. That being said, I don't think like it should be. It's not as black and white as like Engin is the reason why there is such a major rift in the sport right now. Is the sole reason. Does he play a big factor in it? Probably. How big? I don't know. I can speculate on it, but I don't know. But probably he does play some factor, some role in all it. But I don't think he's like the sole reason why there's such a big split between the approach or the mindset that people are approaching arm wrestling with between the West and the East. There's other reasons, surely. I don't think Engin is this great evil puppet master that a lot of people paint him as. Maybe tries to be sometimes, I don't know. That might be the case, but I don't think that's actually the case, that he's like pulling the strings of all these adult grown-ass men. Like muscled adult men from the East. But like Engin has like his hand up all their asses. I don't think that's the case. For every one of them. You know what I mean? I think... I don't know. Braxton McChrist says the league that wins will be the best league with the most pay-per-views, payouts, and the best athletes. Yeah. Yeah. Although, like, the whole mindset of, like, the league that wins... I don't know, like, take, for example, Arm Wars has been doing its own stuff for so long. Its own approach. You could argue East versus West is more successful or more popular than Arm Wars, but Arm Wars has its place in the arm wrestling market. Is offering something unique and is playing into that heavily. Like, you don't see a lot of other productions like Arm Wars does it, right? Does that mean East versus West is winning over Arm Wars? Because they get more viewers, potentially? Bob Anderson says, Engin is the greatest person to have ever existed. Yep, that's the other extreme. Lat Rousseau says, stop being logical, Mr. Arm. The internet is not the place for it. I know, right? I've seen a lot of crazy takes. Like, I've had some time lately, so I've been following the drama to some degree, like more than I do usually. And yeah, there's a lot of crazy takes out there. I released a video kind of, I guess I'm fueling the flames myself a little bit. Like saying why everybody hates Devon and going over some of it. And yeah, even on that video there's a bunch of questionable comments if you ask me, but yeah. It's clearly a very divisive topic within the arm wrestling world, right? I think we've established that much. Arm wrestling has a Vince McMahon syndrome. Yeah, it feels like that sometimes. I feel like arm wrestling has always like tried to walk that tightrope between taking it super professionally and like super seriously, like a lot of the Eastern pullers want to approach it. Which, you know, you gotta realize they're coming from a background where this sport is actually government funded, right? For a lot of those people, the sport is actually government funded, and you could actually earn enough by doing it to earn a decent living. While in North America and big parts of Western Europe and stuff like that, you couldn't do that. You still can't. So I think that kind of dictates what kind of mindset grew towards throughout the history of arm wrestling in Eastern and the Western side. And that kind of dictated how opposed they actually became throughout the next years. So it's not super surprising that these two big parts of the world would have a totally different outlook on the sport of arm wrestling, right? Where one side is looking at it from, we need to make this as entertaining as possible, we need to make this as fluid as possible and not as rigid, maybe soften the rule set a little bit to make it more accessible, stuff like that. And then another side of the world that's like, no, we need to take this super seriously, this needs to become a very serious sport that we take to the Olympics and all this stuff. So I don't think it's a big surprise that these two mindsets have kind of evolved throughout our sport, or are separated by an entire world, you know what I mean? Yeah, in North America or the West, says McFarvo, indeed. That's why I kind of included Western Europe in that, but Australia and stuff, you can include more countries in that. Although, I don't know, I feel like Australia kind of is its own little beast in the arm wrestling world, but yeah. Calvin Jones says, in the East it needs respectability, in the West it needs to be entertaining. Agreed. Different visions. One doesn't really have a place for the anarchist Devon. That's another thing that's like, and I don't mind it because it makes for good content and good discussions. But it's so, arm wrestling can be so like polarizing and like hinging around two figures, which I don't think is super unique for any sport. I think in most sports you'll have those kinds of things. Either it's like rivalries within the sport itself, or it's like decision making and vision, like different visions outside of the sport itself. But yeah, it is very interesting to see how it seems like there's been like two camps forming, one centering around the person of Engin Terzi and one centering around the person of Devon Larratt. But you know, the sport is way more than these two guys. And that's coming from someone who makes like a bunch of videos on Devon. Who's made a bunch of videos on Devon. Like, the sport is more than these two guys. Hey Tomer, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Hey Chuck, good to see you back. No worries. Braxton says there definitely is a middle ground somewhere. I think East versus West 19 struck a great middle ground. Yeah, thinking about it, I can see where you're coming from for sure, and I agree to a certain degree. I definitely agree with you there. It's just the matches weren't as exciting or good to me. I know that's a consequence of being so heavily involved into the arm wrestling world, and you know, I want to see good arm wrestling matches between people who are as closely matched as they can be. But yeah, I do agree that the event took itself seriously enough, but still allowed for and very entertaining moments. So yeah, I do kind of agree with you there that they struck a pretty good middle ground here with East versus West 19. But like I said before, the real question here is, will they be able to repeat this without Brian Shaw's support during the next event? Will people be tuning in the same numbers? Like, one thing I'd love to take a look at, I know they're not going to release it, but I'd love to take a look at the numbers for this live stream. Like, what were the pay-per-view numbers compared to previous East versus West? Gonna grab a quick drink of water, guys. 1 second. There we go. Chuck says Paul Lynn is great in this regard. Yeah, I think Paul Lynn usually has very balanced takes. And I think people who know my channel know that I like Paul Lynn. He's a good friend of the channel, so. Braxton says production, reffing, and rules of East versus West 19 plus an East versus West 13 card would be perfect. Yeah. Something like that would be nice. All in all, a really good event. Which matches haven't we talked about? Let's talk about like the main match, which in my opinion was not Devon versus Alex on the right hand. As much as people want to make it the main match, I don't think that's the case. I think the main match was Brian Shaw versus Brandon Allen. Also, in my opinion, one of the best matches of the night. I feel like if Brandon switched it up here and there a little bit, maybe focused on a couple other things during training, things could have gone a lot different here. So I think, like, as far as like the value of a real match goes, this was one of the better ones, which, you know, I think is great because most of the people, I'm assuming from the Strongman world, would be very interested in this match. Most interested in this match. So yeah, as far as that goes, I think it's great that this match kind of delivered, you know what I mean? Both of them obviously tried. Brian took it in the end. Spoilers, Brian took it in the end. I think 3-1 But that didn't really reflect how close it was, in my opinion, because I think a lot of people look at that match and think Brian just figured something out by grabbing onto the thumb and like kind of pressing sideways with a lot of side pressure, kind of pressing Brandon out of straps, keeping him out of straps. But they went to straps after that. And it wasn't super one-sided the entire way up to when Brian won the match. So a lot closer than I think people give it credit to. But yeah, I like this match a lot. I think they did a great job with that match. As far as the Devon versus Kurdecha matches, nothing really exciting. I think Devon kind of toned down a lot of his trash talk, although it was still on full display, of course. Devon can't help but beat Devon, which something we're gonna need to accept. And I like, people know I like Devon a lot. I've always found him a very entertaining arm wrestler. He's one of the people that got me into arm wrestling from watching his stuff. So I love me some Devon. I think, yeah, if you have Devon on your event, you can't really go wrong because the match will be entertaining or noteworthy in some way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he did a pretty good job in that regard. Very clearly toyed with Alex on the right. Kind of did the same on the left, not as much, but yeah, kind of toyed with Alex on the right, mocked him in different ways. But if you would like compare it to his Oleg match, this was a way toned down version of Devon. You could see that the two guys actually liked each other, which probably helped. Like they knew each other beforehand and they actually liked each other, so yeah. That made the match, I enjoyed it for what it was, but yeah, not particularly close. Top Roll King says, Dexter said that they're in a big minus in this event due to a DDoS attack. Really? Did they get DDoS attacked? That's weird. I don't know what to think about all this. It's not uncommon, of course, that a live stream would get DDoS, but yeah, I don't know. Would be crazy that they didn't have some kind of protection set up for that, because yeah, whatever. We don't need to get into technical stuff. I don't want to like straight away believe like, oh, we were DDoSed. It sounds like one of the oldest excuses on the internet, you know what I mean? Kinda has that flair to it. Like I can count how many years I've heard we've been DDoSed on the internet. Mr. Peanut says, your boy Mitch, understand I was pointing out Eastern players' economies have a different approach to success. Even if arm wrestling was in Olympics, US athletes only get cash or medals. Yep, that's true. Devon should try arm wrestling on ketamine. I'm quite sure he has in the past. I won't say for sure because I don't know, but Devon has taken ketamine. Devon non-stop arm wrestles. Wouldn't be that far-fetched to think Devon has arm wrestled on ketamine. Probably did. Can't tell. Ancient Colossus says, Awakali did the same to Larry Wheels. Yep, true. Was also one of those people who just grabbed the thumb and pressed people down, just like Brian did. People with really strong grips tend to do that, right? Maybe Tobias should try. Let's review another match I have here for you guys. Eddie Hall versus Robert Oberst. What do you think about this match? I think, once again, pretty one-sided. It looked like it was gonna go in Oberst's way, like in Oberst's direction first at the start of the match, but then pretty quickly I think it became clear that Eddie just had it in a bag. I don't know if he prepared better or was just stronger that day or something. It looked to me like he just posted through Oberst's fingers and Oberst just grabbed onto Eddie and didn't let go, which, to be fair, you see a lot of new guys do that, right? A lot of new guys tend to want to grab on. They don't know yet how to flop beneath or roll out or whatever. They just grab on with their fingers to your hand and you just lean back and post all the way up and back into the side and you're done. a lot of new guys. You can have that experience with a lot of new guys if you're arm wrestling. So yeah, it kind of looked, to me, it kind of looked like that. Which, that's one thing I did appreciate about this event. There's different levels of experience throughout the event, which made for some interesting theory crafting from people who were deep into arm wrestling, like myself and other people here probably, or even for people who are not so deep and kind of are interested. Like, you could theory craft a lot with the experience levels you saw, and kind of after a while you kind of see trends in what people tend to do, and they don't really know what they need to do on the table yet. A lot of people go into this seemingly kind of fight or flight mode or something, or just get completely flabbergasted. I would put like maybe Suhail Brown a little bit in that category. Maybe Martins too. Yeah. And then there's other people who, like, you know, do one move and just stick to that move. No matter if you see it's not working, or yeah, who are very static on the table still and have a hard time switching it up from that move. Which is no diss to any of the people there, you know. I love that the Strongman tried arm wrestling, but it's very interesting from a perspective of someone who has some experience on the table. Like, just seeing all kinds of different levels face each other was quite entertaining, I have to say. Especially these kinds of guys, you know how to work a crowd somewhat and are all like superhumanly big. Devon gonna break Vitali, says AJ. Yeah, maybe. He looked really good versus Kurdecha. Really good. Erican says Oberst should stick with arm wrestling. I think he'd have more to offer than Eddie. Eddie seems to hobby hop. I think a lot of those guys kind of do. I appreciate Eddie because he's upfront with his priorities. He genuinely seems interested, because I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was some footage of Eddie after pulling with Devon and asking for hints and like advice and stuff like that. So that was really nice to see. It shows like he's genuinely interested in the sport. But then he is upfront about, I'm taking fighting more seriously now. Maybe in the future I'll get more into arm wrestling still. So I appreciate Eddie for that. I think a lot of guys come into the sport really hard, but they're not really necessarily interested in being there for any amount of time, you know. You know, it kind of feels like these people that don't really have any real interest for arm wrestling kind of feels like Derek Smith going to slap fighting, something like that, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's like disingenuous, because they might genuinely enjoy it and want to do it casually, in which case, yeah, who can have an issue with that? But if it's like a little like predatory, like a very obvious way to get clout or more money, which is the same thing for a lot of those people, yeah, then it is a little crappy. Hey Kazazuri, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Welcome. He goes totally by vibe and misses a lot. Yeah, Calvin Jones says Georgi Svetkov was caught by Devon how to beat him, but he just kept top rolling and lost. Yeah, I'm not saying it's exclusive to new people. For sure not. More experienced pullers, sometimes faced with someone more strong or stronger than they expected, might get the same kind of feeling. But I think in general it's something that you see in a lot of new people. And I'm also speaking like out of experience, personal experience, like first couple of tournaments, first real matches, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. At least it was for me. It's like happened before I knew it, and I couldn't really consciously think what I was doing on the table, you know what I mean? It just the pressure during the setup and not knowing what to do and all that just kind of short circuits your brain for some reason. But then after a while you get used to that initial thing and can kind of think through it a little more. At least that's how it went for me. I know some people who experienced very similar things, but I've also known people who like pick it up right away, like run with it. Hey Atlantis, good to see you. See you, man. Welcome, welcome. J.R. Williams says, I think a major drawback is when you have these aberrations like East vs West 19, where most of the matches were one-sided. If a new normie fan was watching, I don't see how they would stay interested in the sport. I hear you definitely on that one. And matchmaking, I am convinced, is more than just picking random names of people in the same weight category. I think there is, to a certain degree, an art to matchmaking that requires you to be very deep into the sport and have a good knowledge of what kind of styles would be statistically likely to produce good matches versus which other kinds of styles, you know what I mean? So I do think there's something to be said for having a good matchmaker for your league. But arm wrestling is always arm wrestling, and at the end of the day, you can't really predict it. There's always going to be some amount of sweeps in your league. That's just, yeah, the way arm wrestling is. I think with any fight sport, it can kind of happen, right? Gotham Strength says, yep, when you first start, you don't really have time to think. I felt that, yep. Was flawless. I felt like I was watching a sports event on ESPN, says Out of Tune. Yeah, I loved, like I said before, I loved the video quality and how the entire event was organized. Looked and sounded really good. I agree for sure. Yeah, but JR, I don't think it's like, what is a surefire war, you know what I mean? Like, how can you actually make sure you can like put a pretty high likelihood on it, like these guys have faced each other in the past and have had wars, they're close to the same power level. You can add all kinds of criteria to make it more likely, but at the end of the day, if like one guy has an off day, you're still working with humans, so I think it's just inevitable. Even statistically, when you put on hundreds of events, suppose there's like this league that would grow to the top league of the entire world and take over the world and like have hundreds of events. Statistically, you're gonna have events where every single match is a sweep. Just by virtue of people are still people and are gonna have on and off days. And that's gonna produce some one-sided affairs every now and then. So yeah, it's definitely something that a matchmaker can kind of, I don't know, minimize to a degree, but you can't fully get rid of it, which is something of a challenge for arm wrestling. Hey, Justin B, thank you so much for the super chat. Never necessary, but always appreciated, of course. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. It says, it's driving me crazy hearing people complain about the matches. If it wasn't for the East boycott, there would have been good matches. Yeah, that's another very good point to consider. Like, there would have been more good matches if we did have access to a lot of Eastern pullers. That being said, it is also kind of a consequence of it being half of a strongman event, you know? Like, a lot of the pullers here were very inexperienced and were coming from the strongman world, so in that regard, yeah. But I think, like, I loved some of the matches, but I think, like, having access to Egley, for example, to face Gabby again, or Barbora face Gabby again, even though it's like the fucking fourth rematch or something, would have been nice. There's a couple of other ones. I think, like, obviously a match like Pavlo versus Riekert, even though it didn't end really well, is like one of the matches, I said this in my predictions too, one of the matches that I absolutely loved. Because it makes sense. Makes sense from someone who's very deep into arm wrestling's perspective. And it makes sense from like a global perspective where these guys aren't gonna meet anytime soon on a local tournament, you know what I mean? Somebody's parking outside and making ungodly noises. I tried to spare you guys. Harmison says, I wasn't able to watch this live because I was running my business. Imagine my surprise when I got home and couldn't watch by the pay-per-view replay. Also, good video you recently put out, Historian. I appreciate you and thank you for watching my stuff. I appreciate everyone who watches my thing and interacts with it in any way. Yeah, I know it's disappointing for a lot of people that they can't access the website. If it was purposeful, hats off to whoever did it, because yeah, I think it's getting a lot of people quite angry who paid for the pay-per-view and were waiting to watch it and who can't or don't know how to. I think there is a way to access the pay-per-view, by the way, for Harmison and other people like you, Harmison. There is, I think, a link somewhere. I'm not quite sure. I think it's live.eastvstarmwrestling.com or something like that, where you can go watch where you can go watch the full event if you bought it. Also on the app, I believe, but I'm not 100% on that. Never downloaded their app. Chuck says Gotham Strength, but people like Engin or Neil Pickup have very wide knowledge of athletes. You can see them talking about guys you never heard of. Yeah, that's certainly true. I think a team would also make sense of guys who are kind of on the know. You know, I kind of compare it to like how some of the, in like sports in North America and stuff, like a lot of the, well, sports everywhere, of course. You've got like recruiters going around looking for new talent, looking for people who work for a certain team. Yeah, some system like that would work for a lot of leagues, I think. I don't know, I think they could put a lot more effort personally, and that's just talking from my perspective. I think they could put a lot more effort into kind of making content that explores new parts of the world and arm wrestling there. Like, that's one series that I want to make for a long time, but it's like not feasible for me to do it. But an organization like East vs West, I think content like that would be great to create. Calvin Jones's pay-per-view is up and running fine. I'm not sure if it will work on the app yet. Yeah, I hope it works for everyone very soon. Let me grab a quick drink here again, guys. Really warm here. I don't know about you guys, but in this part of the world, it's really warm right now. Homer says, I think people have recency bias for this event. I've been watching some 11-year-old Russian vids and I didn't realize that the Russia A1 production was amazing. Yeah, another one is Pro Panja actually looks good. Did you guys see, by the way, Suhail compete? Let's see if I can pull it up. Suhail, for those that don't know, is a legendary figure from I know him from the Larry Wheels era in arm wrestling. Back when Larry Wheels was making a lot of arm wrestling content, he had these guys that showed up to his trainings, like the regulars of his training, right? And one of those guys was a man named Suhail. And Suhail liked to not be so friendly on the table. You know, he took training matches, especially if they were on camera, very seriously. He dove in unannounced on people, hitting very hard out of nowhere, stuff like that, you know, just general jerkery on the table. And then he had like a couple, I remember there's like this famous footage of him, and I think it's Hermes or Levan, or even both. I think he had the same kind of deal with both, where he started like doing his typical hitting stuff and he kind of got sick of it, and showed him what his true level was. But anyway, this guy Suhail in the Pro Panja League recently had a match that was quite was talked about a lot. Yeah, I think here, I'll show you guys, hang on. One moment. It's the guy who flash pinned Levan. Azuri says, when are we gonna see the arm historian on the table again? I'd love to do like a live stream of the training, but I have a couple of trading partners that aren't super keen on showing up in a video. Yeah, I'd love to make a video soon, but you guys need to convince my training partners. One of them, coincidentally, is the one asking that very question. Kazazuri. J.R. Williams says, who would you put Riekert against next Atlantis? Not asking me, so I won't answer. Jason Lewis says, Suhail pissed Levon off and got crushed. Yeah, let me pull it up. Where? Here we go. Hang on. Here's Suhail versus Hermes. I think here he is versus Levon. Yeah, so, and then Suhail also was in the Pro Panja League in this match. I'm not gonna show it all because Tour Pro Panja is liberal with their copyright strikes. But yeah, quite a contentious match. I know I'm getting off on a big tangent here, but what I like to do sometimes in these streams. Getting quite riled up here. Yeah, there you go. The part I wanted to show you guys. So yeah, another one for the compilation of arm wrestling fights, I guess, kind of. A lot of good gems coming from India lately. In that regard. And with that quiet. Keep everyone off Riekert. He's dangerous and I'm so freaking jealous of guys' strength at his age. Yeah, Riekert. Let's talk about Riekert really quickly again. Loved how he looked and how he kind of changed how he pulled on the table. Of course, supremely unfortunate Pavlo's injury. Yeah, never like to see that. Oh, by the way, yeah, before I forget, guys, I just thought of it. Thank you to all the members. I'm not ending stream yet. I just wanted to get it in there before I forgot it because I tend to forget this. Thank you so much to all the members. We've gotten a couple of new ones lately with the new videos I've released. So, yeah, if you're out there, if you're watching this, I appreciate you a lot. Yeah, some people have been members for like a year to 2 years now, which is crazy. Like Muscle Bike 28 months. That's just madness. Lawless Luchadors 21 months. Yeah, crazy stuff. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. I'll leave it at that, of course. But thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see, which match didn't we review yet? I think Philip versus Matt. Let's talk about that match. Philip Larsen versus Matt Mask. I expected this to be way closer than it actually was. I think I had Mask as the winner. But yeah, I gave Philip a lot of, like, I had high hopes for Philip, you know what I mean? If you're following the guy a little bit, I know he's very active on Reddit, for example. I'm also quite active in the arm wrestling subreddit. Well, not super active, but I lurk around sometimes. And yeah, I had high hopes for Philip, but I thought it would be super close. But yet again, another very one-sided match. Hey Chuck, thank you for using your membership message If you remember, you get like a couple of free super chats, I think. Or maybe this is like renewing your membership or something. I'm not quite sure, but thank you either way. Says thank you, Arm Historian. Keep going strong. Cheers. You're very welcome. Thank you, Chuck. Chuck, a very prolific member here in the channel, has even helped me with certain videos doing research and coming to me with great ideas. If you ever have ideas on topics I can make videos on, don't hesitate to contact me on like any of my social medias or join the Arm Historian Discord. It's like a rare Discord shout out. I think the link is still in the YouTube channel. Yeah, join the Arm Historian Discord. Hey, I want to celebrate my birthday in here. My first year is close. Yes, indeed, almost. You're almost there. Record versus Derek Smith. Yeah. He was kind of a wrecking ball for a moment there. I don't know. Yeah, Rickard versus Derek Smith is not a bad idea. Rickard is solidly in the super heavyweights, right? Because he looks like a very well-proportioned human, but I think he is like 130 kilograms or something like that. So some crazy high amount. When I saw him, he didn't look like that. To me, he looked like a 115 guy or something, like a Reno or something. Yeah, apparently 130 kilograms. Just crazy. Armstrong says Matt was outweighed by 140 pounds. I'd like to see Philip versus a super heavyweight. Yeah, I think that's kind of what they need to do now for Philip Larsson. I don't know if you guys saw Matt Mask's like post-match interview, but he was very chill about it, seemed very chill about it, and yeah, kind of brought up that, you know, Philip is a bigger guy, a way bigger guy, but that he doesn't shy away from any competition ever, right? Philip versus Shaw, or too big of a jump for Shaw. I think that would be too hard. I think Shaw versus Mask would potentially be better, but even there, I feel like, in my mind, using like maybe a little too much arm wrestling logic, but in my mind, Matt Mask should still easily beat Brian Shaw. Even though Brian Shaw outweighs him by quite a bit, I think in my mind, in theory at least, Matt Mask should still have it over Brian, unless Brian has reached some crazy high level that somehow I'm not aware of or people can't really see, unless that has happened. But Brian Shaw versus RVJ, yeah, would be maybe, yeah. Like, I don't know, RVJ, that's never gonna happen, first of all, I think. Who's still talking about RVJ lately? I wish people were talking more about RVJ, and RVJ like got on the scene again, but I don't think the guy has a lot of interest in arm wrestling. Doesn't seem like he can deal. I like RVJ. I've met RVJ in real life and stuff. Talked with him, but yeah, I don't think he's like he doesn't deal with like criticism and like disappointments very well, I think. So not always, potentially in the arm wrestling world at least. I'll talk just for his arm wrestling. So yeah, maybe not. I don't know if we're gonna see a lot more of RVJ. I hope we do. Really, I hope we do, but I don't personally think so. Uncle Todd looked quite comfortable versus Brian Shaw, and he's not even 100 kilograms. Yeah. It's just, I have a hard time seeing how Brian could beat some of the top guys of any weight class, you know? Like maybe starting from like 75 kilograms upwards. Like 85 maybe. Like 85 kilogram, let's put it that way. Like every 85 kilogram world champion, I don't see Brian Shaw beating them. Like every 85 and above kilogram world champion, I don't really see Brian Shaw beating any of them. Maybe Brian Shaw versus Mindaugas or something like that, or yeah, I don't know. So you're saying RVJ is a bit of a bitch? Lol, just kidding, says Erican. Hey man, that's your interpretation of my words. Bob Anderson says the real question is if Derek continues training after this victory. I hope so, yeah. I hope so. That's what he said he would do, right? He said that usually he takes some time off after a win or after a match, but that now he's gonna keep on training strong, so we can only hope so. Derek is one of those guys who's got a tremendous amount of potential in the sport. And I'm sure he's sick of hearing people say that, you know, because Derek has been in the sport for quite a long time now. And a lot of people are kind of thinking like, why hasn't this happened yet? Why hasn't he broken into the top guys? And to me, that's very obvious why. To me, it's very obvious. I'm not saying like I'm not saying like Derek is some kind of monster who can't help but win at arm wrestling and it's just his own mental stuff getting in the way, something like that. I don't think that's actually the entire story. Probably that's part of it, but I think like one of the main reasons Derek isn't like at the top of the super heavyweights or something is because compared to other super heavyweights, elites, his stack is very low. I think so, in my opinion. As far as I can tell, like I know you shouldn't be guessing on that kind of stuff because you can never quite tell. But that's just the way I feel, I guess. That's what I think is going on there. Could be wrong, of course. Could be wrong. Derek versus Philip would be fun. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that one indeed. Philip says he wants Corey West in like half a year or something. Riekert versus Philip is something I've seen people throw around. I wouldn't mind that. Does anyone know what Brandon Allen is ranked in the US? Top 30? I have no clue. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with like North American or US rankings at all lately. I've kind of heard a lot of it, like tangentially from doing live streams and research, but yeah, I haven't keeping up with it religiously. RVJ should take over WAF in USA. He wants to be known as the natural puller, no drugs or supplements. The only tested league is WAF, and Simon is worthless. RVJ would be good for WAF. Yeah, maybe so. Like one of those crazy combinations. I think the issue with that is, and I don't know if it's still the case, but RVJ could be kind of a liability for your league, because if he gets really deep into the politics and the backhanded stuff, I could see RVJ going onto his YouTube channel and spouting all kinds of stuff that, as a company, you wouldn't want. As a viewer, it's very entertaining and you gotta love RVJ for that stuff, but as a company, yeah, I don't think you want to be associated with some of the stuff RVJ has said during live streams. Again, as a viewer, though, all good, all fine by me. Makes for great content. I think Philip runs through Derek, says Justin B. Might be the case. Might be the case, Justin. Very hard to say. Again, Derek, way more experienced than Philip, but Philip looked... I don't know, man, have you seen the guy's brows? It feels like he has a little more Neanderthal heritage than the rest of us, if you know what I'm saying. Like, the guy is straight out of the Stone Age, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I like Philip as a guy. Seems like a chill dude. The guy is like half caveman, right? And I think the strength goes along with it. Derek versus Matt Masks is KL. Yeah, potentially. I think that's one of those matches that could be very nice, but has like a big chance to be boring. Just because I just see them both slipping really easily every time. That's gonna take up a lot of time, and then the match itself being over in like a split second. Where either Matt just pins Derek straight away, or Derek eats Matt's hands and wrist, and yeah, from that position there's not a lot Matt can do, as evidenced by his fight with Philip. I love to watch his rants about RVJ. Yeah, I agree. Philip has giants, but that's maybe a better way to put it than my caveman example. I like this one better. He does look like a giant, like a true giant. Nothing a kilo of HGH injections can give you. You think it's actually that? I don't think in Philip's case it's that. I think it's just genetics. Might be wrong there, of course, but yeah, but I do see what you're saying. He's kind of, Dennis kind of has that same look going for him in his face, right? You know what I mean? Might be some acromegaly or what's it called involved. I'm speculating about people's like medical conditions. I shouldn't be doing that. Bob Anderson says Matt has already beaten Derek. Could be different in a rematch. Yeah, could be. However evil RVJ is, he needs to come back. I agree, Jacobin. Would love to see some RVJ up in the arm wrestling world again. Let me quickly check if Neil is going live with the fix. I'm assuming he isn't, so we can go a little overtime here. But I'm assuming Neil isn't going live with the fix because he's probably still like enjoying the event, the Strongman event. Maybe from his hotel room or something. Let me quickly check. No, it doesn't look like he's going live. So no worries. Hey, Chuck is back. I won't be online for that much longer, guys. So if there's anything you want me to talk about or you want to ask me, preferably arm wrestling related, but doesn't need to be. Like, I'll get it out of the way now, and I'll get to it still before I end stream here. Waiting for another train. I hope you get where you're going as soon as possible, Chuck. Just for me to get it out of the way, you can watch me every time, same place, same time. On a Sunday on this channel, I go live. Very rarely, I also go live during the week, but it does happen when there's some special event or I just have some time to kill or something, then I might jump on live during the week too. So yeah, you can always catch me here on a Sunday at the same time. It's like 9:15 for me, Central European time. So yeah. Chuck says, Army Historian, will you have 10 minutes for some chit chat after the live stream? Yeah, I'll hop on Discord while I kind of give my voice a little rest after the live stream, and you guys can hit me up there, including you, Chuck, of course. I haven't visited the Discord in a while, but usually the community there is pretty active, the Army Historian community, and it's a pretty reliable way to get in touch with me, although lately I've been in the middle of a move, so I haven't been on Discord a lot. Other than that, check out my Instagram. I do post on there quite frequently, a couple times a week usually. You can send me a DM there too. Usually gets to me within a day or something. Facebook, I do have a page on Facebook that I'm relatively active on. And then TikTok, of course. Of course, I have a TikTok account too. Kinda need to. And I've actually gotten, it's been kind of a meme here on my live streams. I had like 6 followers or something on TikTok for the longest time. And now I'm up to 29 followers. So I have the full 29 followers on TikTok now. I think I'm officially like TikTok viral. That's what the kids are calling it, right? TikTok viral. So I'm officially TikTok viral now. 29 followers. So yeah, making big strides on there. Safari Arm Historian or Night Arm Historian. Yeah, I think we have access to a new emote actually, guys. That's another thing I kind of needed to touch on. I have a bunch of, I'll put them in the chat right now. I have a bunch of these custom emotes that members can use, and I think we've reached enough members now to get a new emote. So something to think about. Yeah, that's fine, Chuck. I don't expect you to go on TikTok. Whatever you do, don't follow me on TikTok because it'll motivate me to post there more. Bob Anderson says, sounds like a nightmare to be 7 feet tall at the arm wrestling table. Yeah, man. Like, I'm quite a tall guy. I'm not like some huge giant, but I'm quite tall. And even I think sometimes the arm wrestling table is even a little too small for me, so I can't imagine like these real giants sometimes have to deal with. But you know, it's made for the average person, right? I know there's been talk before about like making bigger tables for the super heavyweights, but I don't know if that will work, honestly. ATOS Move, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. 27 of those followers are going to send you a letter. Oh no, should I be worried? Take my money, Arm Historian is great too, says Kazazuri. Yeah, that's a good motto. Take my money, Arm Historian. I like that one. I'm kidding. Chuck says 5 minutes break. Need to buy a ticket. Good luck with that. So yeah, I think we about covered it, right? Let me quickly check if we forgot any of the matches. I'm sure I forgot one of them, I think, right? We talk about Dave Chafee and Todd Hutchings. I think very briefly. Dave Chafee dominated Todd Hutchings. Absolutely plowed through him every time. It seemed like Todd just couldn't engage. I think he underestimated, like apart from Dave's obvious power discrepancy over him, I think he kind of underestimated how fast cut Dave can be. You know what I mean? Like a lean Dave, how fast twitch he can be off the go. I think Todd kind of underestimated that, because if there's one thing about Todd Hutchings, he's getting better with age. Yes, I agree. He's not getting faster with age. Like as far as I can tell, he's not getting faster off the go with age. So yeah, I do think the speed played a big role in this match. I don't think it would have ended differently if Todd Hutchings did have the opportunity to really engage. I think Dave would have still taken his hand in the end. But I do think the speed at which Dave hit with the power he did secured this match for him in a pretty easy fashion, right? Godzilla is American fast, but not Bulgarian fast. Yeah. And Dave, of course, famously Bulgarian, is Bulgarian fast. Dave looked like he's got a new lease on life. Yes, indeed, Evan Roach. Indeed. Uncle Todd is pure gold still in my book. I agree. I love me some Uncle Todd, and gotta love you some Dave Chafee. You know, Dave Chafee, I actually have a couple of things in common with him. I feel like he's kind of one of those pullers, not from a physical standpoint, don't get me wrong, but like, he's a calm guy. He seems pretty analytical in how he thinks, and he likes gaming. He's kind of a homebody, it seems, even though he likes to work out and all this stuff, obviously. Like, I don't know, I like Dave Chafee. He's unapologetically himself, and I think pretty chill guy as far as I can tell. Always happy to see Dave wins the Stomer, I agree. Out of Tune says, I feel that Arm Historian should end every stream with a karaoke song so that we have something to point and laugh at. Don't diss my singing, okay? I was once in a band of singing arms, okay? We were very successful. That being said though, guys, I think we covered all of the matches. I'll give you a quick recap of what I thought about the event in general. I liked it. I think I would give it something like a 7 out of 10 in total. Like the entire thing wrapped together. Probably a 9.5 or a 9 as far as production value goes. Really great. Like awesome video, audio quality, really great angles. Good setup in the arena there. And then as far as the matches goes, probably like a 4 out of 10 or something. Not a lot of exciting matches for me personally, but a lot of the matches were still entertaining because of the characters that were in them. So all in all, I think the event was a success. I think if you put it on the ranking on like a sliding scale with other East versus West events, I think this is, for me personally, I'm speaking for myself, quite near the top. Definitely not near the bottom. So yeah, I think they did a great job, especially seeing as they had a limited amount of time to kind of scramble together an event still because of what happened. But yeah, I think they did an awesome job there. So yeah, with just a bit more thought into matches, it could be legendary. I think that about sums it up really well, Atlantis, and I agree with that. Other than that, guys, keep your eyes peeled. I'll flash the members on screen once again. Greatly appreciate you guys. Keep your eyes peeled on another video that's coming out, because soon there's another video that I've been working on quite a while that's coming out. Gonna be the rare who uploads in 1 week, I think. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And other than that, thank you so much for joining me here. I always greatly enjoy these live stream sessions I have with you guys every Sunday. I invite you to join me again next week, same place, same time. And until then, thank you so much for joining me. Arm Historian, out of here.